Hello. I'm starting a series of interface design tutorials, and this will be the first. So the plan here is to go through different areas of what you'd normally have in a game and just design different areas separately, as that's how I plan to do it. Just how sort of components, the way you'd have your components on React, and then import them separately. So I have picked sort of a template. So it's basically having a bunch of icons on the left, the user details somewhere on the top right. That's what I'm picking. Then on this top area, there may be some changes because some pages would need a search. So I'm not sure what these are, but different pages will definitely have different tools up here. So the only one I can think of right now is search, where I can see they have agents, browse, weapons. So it depends with the game you're building. And for let's see, they have maps up here, but I plan to have maps as a dedicated area somewhere, on the amongst these icons. So I'm not sure how that affects the usability of the interface, but we can only know that after we're done building it. And then, we I can work on extra videos to at least make changes on whatever I've picked during the series. So let's get started. So you can see it's taking a little bit long to load, but as you can see, all these pages I've picked, some have nothing to do with gaming, but it's the general idea of having icons on the side and the user details on the top right I'm going for. So let's just get to Unreal. And then the first thing you need to do is, of course, create a widget that will hold all these things. So go to my UI folder, it's empty, and right click here, go to user interface and select widget blueprint. Under widgets, just click on user widget and let's call this main. Main is okay with me. I may have to rename this please. Uh, the other components will be named based on what they do. Like settings will be settings, vehicles will be vehicles, properties will be properties. Uh, I'll think of other areas to work on. I may check online also for other areas to work on, but I think you get the point here. So with the widget created, let's open it. Okay. And so you're going to start by, oh, actually remember, okay. Let me call this layout, not main layout, something. So this is going to be, as its name suggests, just the layout for what you're going to have. So it's basically going to create areas where you're going to import these things. Some may reside within the main layout itself, some will definitely have to be imported. So what I usually do is first add the canvas panel, and select it. Yeah, leave it as it is. You may want to adjust based on what you want, but I think the default is okay for me. 1920, 1080. So on Unreal, it shows 1921.92 by 1081.08, but that's close to 1920 by 1080. So I'm assuming that's the default screen. You can also come pick what screen you need here. So for now, based on what I've just shown on Chrome, that's what we're going for. 1920 by 1080 is fine. And then, so we're going to start with these icons and then the main area. So by default, you have two main sections. And to add those sections, I'm going to add, is it vertical or horizontal? Let me see, vertical, but no, horizontal. So a horizontal box, so okay, horizontal box, and within this one, we're going to add the vertical box. vertical box, and I think I'm just going to use a canvas again within this horizontal box. So wait, let me see, horizontal, it's supposed to fill the whole area. So what you do there is anchor it to the whole section, then the offset right and bottom just set to 0. I think bottom is usually negative something. Oh, it's 0. So depending on what your anchor is, I think if you select these, the ones that are anchored to the bottom, you're going to have to offset your bottom by negative. But let's just go for the main, the whole page, and so it covers the whole area. And these two will have them fill the whole area vertically. I think that's the same for the canvas. And then as for the horizontal span, I just select the canvas and fill, right? So leave vertical as it is and select the canvas area and just set it to fill. Then compile, sorry, compile that, and we have the area. You can see it right now, it's still empty, so I'm not sure if this has a fit to. Okay, so yeah, that's text and buttons. We get to the annotation. So the upper part could be your logo. It could be this icon that people use for their, resizing the navigation, because that's basically what your navigation is going to be. So let's just stick to the icons without the expandable navigation. We'll work on that later on. So let me go ahead and create a new menu. User widget and user interface widget. The same process, just right click, user interface, select user widget, and then rename it. So those will be navigation. So with that created, go back to your main layout, select the vertical box, and then search for the navigation you just created. So navigation, it will appear under user created. Drag that into the vertical box. Actually, I should have used a vertical box. Let me replace it with a scroll box. I don't think I even need a palette for this. The whole point of this component is to have, each component manage itself. So I'm going to drag this outwards and delete the vertical box. So the navigation is going to replace what the vertical box was doing. So that way we can manage everything. Internal compiler created. Oh, I think I need to wait, compile. Already exists. Oh, okay. So the naming will affect, will cause errors. Let me just rename that to navigation layout. So that should work. Compile still crashes. UMG widget navigation. Let me rename it here also. Compile. Okay, so yeah, that was. So if you come across such errors, just rename components. Unreal already has components with some names, and you probably don't know all the names. So this will just be case of this for you. So with this created, the canvas panel will stay as it is. Let me rename it to. No, actually, let's leave it at that. Let's work on the navigation. We want the icons to. I want the icons to be aligned with this vertical horizontal. Those two words confuse me all the time. So that's vertical. So we want these things to be aligned vertically, and the same sizes. This is pretty easy. I think anyone can do it. It's just a bunch of images. Download the icons wherever you want, and you could add the images inside a button just to make them clickable. But you can also trigger and on click on anything you want within this UMG widget anyway. So let's head over here and create canvas first. So canvas panel, same process. So because this is a child of something else, the anchors don't seem to appear now. So what we'll do is go directly to the vertical box. Now, actually, scroll box. Okay, yeah. So now the scroll box there, and within the scroll box, you'll have the icons going down vertically. So that's where you want your vertical box. So let's search for that vertical box, and then within the vertical box, we're going to add a button and an image in it. So just search for button. Okay, drag that there. Inside the button, for now, because we don't have the icons, let's just use words and then we'll replace them later on. So search for text and drag it in there. And so what you do to make your work easy, style the button first, style the text box, and then duplicate the whole thing. Duplicate it, and see, based on the number of icons you need. So yours maybe 5, 6, I think I'll just need 4 for the testing. So let's call this home. Right, and this one will be home text. And then for my button, I'm going to use a material I worked on yesterday and just open it and show you what it does. Oh, that's not it. Okay, so fading background. So this material is influenced, I think, by basically all games on Earth. So what this does is you can't really see it here. Let me just go and add it. Moment instance. Let's do it fading right. Right, so I have a bunch of instances created already. Let me just add it to the image there. So I'm not sure if you can see what I mean here, but the material, it's solid on one side, it's opaque on one side, I mean, and it fades over. And because it's an instance, we can work on this material later on and show you what, go through it, teach you how I made it. But because it's an instance, we can always adjust. Let me go to the navigation again. Okay, so I hope you can see this. One moment. Okay, so I hope these parameters you can think we should just focus on the UI, but I hope these parameters here that determine determine the gradient here. So like for instance, if you set all the maximum, you can't exactly see the gradient, such it's just small area. But if you slide it all the way down to 0, you can see, almost half the area is now basically translucent. You can see, transparent fades to opaque. So the whole point of this is to essentially just copy what's already been used by other games, tested, tried, it works. I don't want to use exactly what we have here. This is more for web design. I doubt it will work for you in your game, but you can always experiment with whatever you want. So let me that did do what it's supposed to do. Here was some of them. So I'll just close this and go pick the correct one. It's actually fading right. Okay. So now it fades to the other side, and because the layout, let me compile it, see if it will apply on this side. Okay, so obviously going to change the text colors, but you can see the layout I want it to be bluish, dark bluish. And so, fading into blue is my choice here. You can obviously work with your own colors. Yeah, this is just an example of what you need to do. So I have a feeling that the gradient's not enough. Let's just work with that for now. Change the text color to the blue we want. Think of seeing that blue. Okay, this is the blue I want. And so to get it, let me put this right here. Put up this one, and then there's this color picker here, which I noticed works outside and real. So I'll just come right here and pick it, and then click OK. Resize. Okay, so that works for me. That works perfectly fine for me. I think I also need padding. Padding will be fine. I'll go back to the button and then find padding. Size padding of padding of fine is usually default for me. Yeah, that's fine. And the text here will be home. Right, so duplicate this one, the amount of times you want. Let's call this vehicle and vehicle text. Blue is what I need. Duplicate this. Let's call it properties. So your garages and some other stuff you put in game. Properties button. And the reason I'm appending button and text behind, on each of these sorts is that inside, when you go to the event graph, when you eventually start programming this thing, we are going to name some variables, and so I want home to just be home. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this correctly. One moment, we'll get to it and I'll show you what I mean. Properties text. I may have to add think to have a spacer. Right, spacer, put it right there, drag it somewhere here, and then copy it and drag it to the bottom, and then duplicate the buttons and create a settings button, which I want to be at the very bottom. So this will be settings button, and the text will also be settings text. So it's now what I'm looking for. I have realized that it's something I've done wrong. I'm not sure if I can drag this. Nope, can't do that. Let me cut all this, delete this, paste it there. Nice. So I'm going to take these two and wrap them with a scroll box. Right, so I want the buttons in between to scroll. The very top and bottom ones won't scroll, and the way I achieve that is to make the spacers fill the area so that the buttons stay in the middle. So let me rename this text here. This one's got vehicles, and this one will be properties. And settings will also be settings. Okay. Let's go over here. So it still looks like shit, of course. But here's the main idea. Your settings button stays at the bottom. It never scrolls away from the viewport. The home button, I'm not sure why you made it. I just added there just to show you that you could have something up there. You're probably going to have your game's logo like these people do. So that stays at the top. It also never scrolls off the page. The only things that will be scrolling will be, these buttons in between. if you have enough buttons to scroll. The other way to do this would be to have the settings bar at the very bottom and these icons to float up there. So the way you do that would be go to the top spacer and set it to auto, then the scroll box is what you set to fill. And this one won't be, the both spacer should be auto. So selecting the scroll box, you can see it takes the entire middle area, so that's where your buttons or your icons or whatever you have in here will be scrolling through. Compile that. I think you may need, by default, the scroll box scrolls vertically, but I think you can set it to horizontal. That's a tutorial for another day. So let's work with this for today. I think we can add some extra padding here. Padding, padding. Padding should be 10 for everything, just to make everything uniform. That's 10. That's also 10. Nice. Okay, so with that said, I think we're going to now need to make the buttons usable. Adding the padding has a weird effect here. We'll address that later on. You may want your buttons to be smaller, but I don't see the point. I just want them to match from top to bottom. So an easy fix for that would be simply set the padding for top and bottom and ignore left and right. So just enlarge this. Now go to the button you want to adjust, and like that. And then left and right should be 0. That's 0. So to 0. Page is 0. Page is also 0. Compile, go back. Yeah. So obviously in game you're not going to see these borders, so that's fine for now. So to program these buttons, let me first create a few extra widgets. Let's go back to where this widget from. Create a new user interface, select widget blueprint. Let's call this properties layout. So select user widget and set a name there, properties layout. Select, I'll create another one. Widget blueprint, user widget, vehicle layout. Going to need a settings layout also. User interface, widget, user widget, settings, layout. Nice. Okay, so the canvas panel, let's call this dynamic layouts. So this is where you want to add your layouts to. And just to make sure we can see the layouts being changed, let me just add basic text in here. Text, put it right there. Let's change that to, we change these properties. So change it to properties. Do the same to the other two. Search for text. Drag it there. Do some settings. Go back to the last one. Search for text. And this one's vehicles. Okay, so with that done, let's go back to our main layout and just close unnecessary tabs. Don't need these or this or this. Okay, so save all, go back here, and then let's go to the event graph. I want to create a custom event, and let's call this custom event load layout. And then let's see, go back to your designer on your dynamic layout, set it to variable, so that way you can use it, in the event graph. So With that done, you now have your dynamic layouts and variables. So just drop it here. So clear children, this deletes everything inside the canvas panel or whichever panel you've selected. So mine is canvas. So that's what I want to do. I just want to make sure it's empty before I add anything in it. And then with that done, going to add child, and the content is going to be a variable. Content is going to be a variable. So yeah, that's that. Another thing would be going to the navigation layout and creating a new variable here. Let's call it main layout, sure. So just come here and search for main layout, object reference, and then say there. So I'm going to use this to call this function. That's the function, this one. So what I want, for the navigation to use it instead of, sometimes what you do is get widget of class, and I don't want to do that because we are already inside the widget. So what you do is the navigation layout, which is already a variable, just go to event graph on pre-construct, drag navigation layout in here, then set main layout. So we're going to set the main layout. I don't know if this works. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if that would work, but it looks like it works. So because this variable on the navigation layout is of type main layout, getting self main layout is essentially what you need to do. And with that done, now you're going to go back to your navigation layout and then start programming the buttons. So on the vehicles button, just scroll down here and click on unclicked. Unclicked, drag the main layout here and call the function load layout. Right. And so vehicles would be something is terribly wrong. Which right. You don't add child. Sorry. Let's first go back here and delete this. Then come back here and delete that. Okay. So first you need to create widget. And this class is what you need. And then on player, just leave it as it is for now. But usually what you want is the controlled one. Let's just leave it as this for now. And then after creating this widget, that will be the content. And that will be the content you add there. So on this side, now if you call add layout, is it add or create? Load, okay. Load layout. The class now will be settings. Now vehicles, sorry. Vehicles layout. Okay. And then do the same for the rest. I'm sure there's probably an easier way of just using is it data table or something for these patterns instead of creating different on clicks. We may or may not go through those. I'm a bit lazy. Click this one's properties, copy this, paste it down here, and switch that one to properties. Okay. And I think settings will be the last one. Not on click. paste and switch that with settings. Sorry, settings. Nice. So with that done, let's compile and test this. So the way we test it is I'm going to first call the main layout. So let me open this. This is the plane I'm using. So in later videos, you're going to go through components. I don't like having something running directly in the event graph of separate characters, separate blueprints. Usually when I do that, and there's a problem, maybe I'm the only one experiencing. When I do that is, if I ever delete that blueprint, I'm done. So let me call it with P. So keyboard P or no, keyboard P. It's fine for me. It's just a test. Create widget of class main layout. Add widget to blueprint. Add to viewport. I mean add widget to viewport. Whoa. Add to viewport. Okay. So add to viewport. Target is self. And then no, target is the widget just created. Show cursor. Set cursor to show percentage. Okay, see, I can this. I'm pretty sure this thing in 5.1 was show cursor, not set cursor, and it was a boolean. Yeah, it was a boolean, so it's not set cursor. I have a feeling that things still exist. Yeah, okay. So set show cursor there, and then there's one last thing you need to do, and that'll be input mode. So set the input mode to UI only, right? And then player controller, get player controller for this particular point, and do that the widget to focus on is this one here. So yeah, that works for me. And a way to destroy the widget, let's just use this. No, destroying the widget. Hold on. Target blueprint is not player controller. Yeah. So you need to connect player controller towards show cursor and input mode. So let's compile that again. That's right. Yeah. So the way I destroy widgets, you could simply drag here and search for destroy. It's easy if you just destroy this object. Remove from parent. Yeah, okay. Keep confusing it with some other stuff. So you could do that. You could do that, or you could go to the main widget and make it, detach it from your character, so that way you can use it even, when you possess something else, maybe a vehicle or whatever it is you want to possess, a tree. So what you do is click on override and then on key down, on key up. Think it's the same thing. I'm not sure if they have on key pressed. Let's go with on key down. On key down, in key event, equal P. Oh, get key and check if key is P. So keyboard, come down here and find P. If it is branch, so connect that there, and alright, so this one will be removed from branch. and target itself, which is fine because this is already the widget you want to destroy. And I'm going to align this with this. So yeah, that should work. Oh, return value. And just promote this to variable. I don't need it, but let me call it default return. Yeah, so I don't really need that. It should fix the warning for me. Then go back to the first one and remove this node here. You don't need it now. Okay, let's test that. Then call the widget express P. Okay, so when I click on settings, we have settings right here, and I click on vehicles, it changes to vehicles. I'm not sure if you see it. I need to add a background to make it visible. I click on properties, it switches. So the basic setting now works. So until this point, okay, so home has nothing. So let me just add the background and close the video and the video at that. The next videos would be focusing on these other panes. So I think we'll start with properties to help you. And if you, I don't know if properties make sense, but I just work on it to have a pen to test. The same process I've used here, where you have different components separately, and then you call them. You call them when you need them, and you don't just have them in your blueprint permanently. Is what we're going to use. So here on clear children, I'm not sure if we can get children, get all children, and then for each loop, looks like a long process. Remove from parent. Yeah, could work. But I mean, you see, this is an extra process. It also works. Don't do it. This short process here works. That's fine. So if we're bothering you with that, let me go and add a background here and make it visible. So because this is a canvas panel, we can always just come here. Show if I have a background, blur, put it right there. And then the anchors will be full. Again, offset right, 0, offset bottom, 0. And the blur settings is a border 0. I think this one will appear at the top. We'll just test that later on. Z I've never actually used the background blur, so I'm not very sure. I'm not very sure what settings I'm supposed to be doing here. If you want a background, I think you could just add an image at a scale box to make it look good. But since I've already added this one, since I already have it, let me just find the settings, blur radius. Okay, the radius somewhere there. See what that does. Play, press P. It does absolutely nothing. And I also noticed that the key override does not work. Let's just test that later on. I'll get back to that. Let me just find a scale box. A scale box here, put it right there. Inside the scale box, let's add an image. Okay. Image and the image. Image could be that. So again, resize this anchors for offsets 0 and 0 there. Because it's a scale box, I think there's an option for fill, scale to feed, scale to fill. No. Okay, to fit. Okay, stretch direction. Both. No. So scale to fill. I'm not sure if I can set. It's already centered. Let's try this. Yeah, that's much better. And then to test this override here, key down, and just at the print screen. Right, it's not working. Uh, could be key up on key up. Key down, I think already help that. Let's try that. Go back here and copy everything. Go back here and copy everything. Oh wait, because it's not going through the. Let me see what's happening. Key up needs a deploy return. Get that, slot it there, compile, save, test again. See, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So these patterns are working fine. Go back there, override key and add this right here. So that's not working. First, let me do that. Absolutely nothing. I may have to go through this later on off screen and then come back with the working solution. Put it right there. Okay. Connect this here. Cool. So the override is not working. I mean, let me go just check what I'm doing wrong, and then we'll come back and fix that. For now, I just remove from body directly from here. Remove from body. There we go. So we put that there, connect it, compile it, and that should now work. So still does not work. I think I know I'm doing wrong. This is not supposed to be released. It should be should be flip-flop. So, so flip this, flip-flop, what's that? Yeah, so select that, put it right there, and then connect this down here. Disconnect this one. It should, I assume, now work perfectly fine. So still not working. Okay, so let me go work on removing this thing from parent. Remove from parent, I'm pretty sure is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's not working. We'll go through that in the next video. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if this is fun. This is probably the second video this channel after 3 months. I'll try creating more, bit more faster now. Maybe one per day. So see you tomorrow.